Hey, what is going on guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the best champions if mastered for 7.16. So basically, if you put a lot of time into these champions, if you've played them a lot, then they're going to be the best to carry with for this patch right now. So the way I came up with the champions that are going to be featured in this video is I took the highest win rate champions in master tier in this patch with over 100 games played across the three major regions, so NA, EU West, and Korea. These champions in this video all have very high win rates in this patch in master tier, and the reason I'm using master tier instead of challenger is because challenger is a very small sample size. There's not many champions that do have over 100 games played, whereas master tier, it's still a very high elo. It's the top like 700 in NA, it's the top like 900 players in Korea, so it's still a very good elo. It's still up there, so that's why I'm using master tier instead of challenger, just so you do get a little bit more of a sample size. So we're gonna start off in the top lane here, and we're gonna do 3 champions for each role like usual. So the 3 picks for top lane in this patch are Riven, Jace, and Jax. So for Riven right now, she's actually not too bad of a pick in the top lane in this meta, but I think the reason to why she's so successful and to why she's got a very high win rate once you do move up in the ranks is because she's a champion to where the more games you put on her, the more time you spend on the champion, the stronger you're gonna be and just the better you're going to get at her, because she's got one of the highest skill ceilings in my opinion for any champion. There's so many different combos you can use in different situations with Riven. She's also got a lot more animation cancels in her kit than the average champion, so the more time you spend on her, the better you're going to get. And I don't think there really comes a point where you've actually truly mastered Riven. There's probably very few players that can say that. So her kit is just overall great for solo queue though. She's a very snowbally top lane pick. You can completely take over a game with Riven if you know what you're doing on her. So if you play a good Riven in this patch right now, then she is a very good pick for the top lane. Now as for Jace, if you know how to pilot this champion well in the early game and you can really take advantage of his oppressive laning phase, then he is the best top laner that you can play for this patch. The reason to why, in my opinion, Jace's win rate hits a really high spike once you do reach the higher elos is because players do have a better knowledge of wave management, and if you know how to manage a wave as Jace and you can get a freeze off at your tower, then you can completely zone the enemy from CS, even XP, if you do end up getting far ahead. And if the enemy just makes the smallest mistake in the laning phase, a good Jace player will really punish that, and they'll end up just either zoning them from CS, or if they do go in for CS, then Jace will just end up killing them. So you can really get very high CS leads with Jace in the laning phase. If you're a good Jace player, you can hit your first item spike and then you can just keep killing the enemy top laner over and over again if they do end up overextending for CS. He's also one of the best tower pushing top laners in the game. His W makes it very easy for him to melt towers, so if you do end up getting a lead with this champion and you know how to extend that lead, then he's an extremely good pick for this patch. Now as for Jax, I was a little bit surprised to see him with such a high win rate in the higher elos, but I think the main reason for it is because a lot of champions that Jax does well against are seeing quite a bit more play in these last few patches. For example, Gnar is a pick that has kind of come back and he's seeing a lot more play now. Nasus also got buffed, so he's seeing a little bit more play. Renekton and Kled are also matchups that Jax can do pretty well into, so he does have some pretty good matchups in the top lane right now. For the jungle in 7.16, the 3 picks are Kha'Zix, Maokai, and Sejuani. So in my opinion, Sej is probably the most busted champion in the game overall right now. With Maokai getting those nerfs last patch, it kind of just makes Sejuani the better Cinderhulk tank jungler. Maokai and Sej were kind of on the same level a few patches ago, but I just think that Sej right now, she's an extremely good tank jungler. She is banned quite often, but if she's not banned and she makes it through, she can just have such a great influence on the game. If you do end up just surviving the early game as Sejuani, if you don't fall too far behind, then her mid-game team fighting and her ability to just solo carry a team fight with her insane crowd control is just very easy to do. If you hit that ultimate on the priority target, your follow-up from your team and just your follow-up crowd control on that target is really good. You've got 4 CC abilities in your kit, so I just think her kit is way too overloaded, and because of that, it just just makes her a great jungle pick for 7.16. Then Kha'Zix is one of the best non-tank junglers for this patch. He is a bit more early game reliant than someone like a Sej or Maokai, so he is a bit more risky, but if you mastered Kha'Zix and you do know how to take advantage of his good early game, then you can really snowball super hard with the champion. You can extend your lead into either invading the enemy jungler and just killing them over and over again, or you can take early dragons, and if you do get your team super far ahead, then your early Baron potential with Kha'Zix is really good with your isolation damage, so you could just really take over a game with a champion if you know how to play his early game well. For the mid lane in this patch, it's the Apto or Dopa special. We've got Twisted Fate, Kassadin, and Syndra being the most successful champions right now in the higher elos. So for Twisted Fate right now, he's gotten a lot better over the past few patches, and there's a few different reasons for it. He's sitting at an insane win rate right now across all of the major servers in the higher elos, and the first reason for it is because he did get that buff in, I think, last patch to his movement speed. It only got increased by 5, but any sort of movement speed increase on Twisted Fate is going to help him out a lot. It will just allow him to much easily land those gold cards and just get in range to hit the gold card. Also in this patch, a lot of the champions that could do pretty well into Twisted Fate did get nerfed. So Taliyah, for example, was kind of known as just the better Twisted Fate. She does have great roaming potential as well, but with Taliyah getting nerfed in this patch, a lot of people are going more towards the Twisted Fate. With meta champions in last patch like Orianna and LeBlanc also getting nerfed, it just does free up Twisted Fate a little bit. It allows him to have a bit of a stronger laning phase. He doesn't get completely smashed in lane in this patch by too many champions, so if you can get through the laning phase, if you can get your shove and roam going with Twisted Fate, then you can really influence the map with your ultimate and you can just snowball the early game out of control. Kassadin is another pick that did benefit from those changes to the AP mages. If you can get past his little bit of a weaker early game and you can just keep up in farm and get to your 2 to 3 items on Kassadin, then I think what makes him an extremely good pick in the higher elos is just his ability to split push extremely well. There's not too many mid lane champions that can actually match him in the 1v1 and in the side lane, and if he does end up getting a snowball going, there's not too many champions in general that can match him in the side lane. So if you do know how to split push well, and once you reach the higher elos and once you do have good knowledge of split pushing, then you can just really extend your lead with Kassadin. You can take down towers super fast once you do grab that Lich Bane, and he's also a decent team fighting mid lane champion too. His one-shot potential is insanely good once he does get a few items, so overall Kassadin is a great pick for this patch. Syndra was one of those AP mages that did end up getting changed in this patch. The changes weren't that bad though, as long as you do know how to play Syndra well. They ended up nerfing her W damage, but they did end up buffing the E damage, so it does end up kind of canceling out as long as you can hit your full combo on her. If you can't end up hitting your stun though, then it does end up being a little bit of a nerf. So it's a nerf to like the crappy Syndra players, but if you know how to play her well and you can consistently hit your combos, then it doesn't affect her too much. For ADC right now in this patch, the 3 best picks are Xayah, Tristana, and Twitch. So Xayah's a pick to where I was kind of surprised she was on this list, but it does make sense with a lot of these champions being played in the meta right now, having really hard engage and just having a lot of crowd control. Xayah's a pretty good pick against that because she does have the self peel with her ultimate. If someone like a Sejuani tries to hard engage on her with her ultimate, then if you can play Xayah well and you can really react, then you can press your ultimate to completely dodge the Sejuani ult. A lot of these CC champions and these dive champions, Xayah can just do very well into, so I think that's one of the main reasons to why she's doing quite well for 7.16. For Trist and for Twitch, they're 2 of the strongest hyper carries for 7.16, with Ardent Sensor being as broken as it is, and with a lot of those Ardent Sensor supports being played, it allows these hyper carries to hit an earlier game power spike, and once you do hit your power spike with Twitch and with Tristana, and you've got your Ardent Sensor support with you, then there's really not too much chance of you losing that game as long as you have mastered Twitch and Tristana and you do know how to play them well. They scale extremely well into the late game, and with the Ardent Sensor, it just allows you to have an even better early game too, so overall they're just great picks for 7.16. And then for the support role in this patch, to round out the video here, the 3 most influential are Rakan, Janna, and Thresh. So for Rakan, he's a pick to where he's got a really bad win rate across all elos. Like his average win rate is pretty bad, but he's got an insane win rate once you do reach the higher elos. Rakan's ability to engage from a super long range just makes him great if you are playing with an organized team, and if your team does know what your champion does. If they know you're looking to hard engage, then you can just really solo carry with the champion. If you do end up playing alongside someone like a Sejuani as well, or just someone that does have an ability that can follow up on your engaged, then your mid-game team fighting is just some of the best for any champion. So I think that because he's got great hard engage and because he can really punish the enemy if they do just make the slightest positional error, he's a great pick if mastered. And then for Janna right now, there's really not too much to say about her. She's probably the most brain dead freeload champion that you can play for this patch. Her win rate in the higher elos right now is above 60%, which is just way too high. She needs a nerf, or Ardent Sensor needs more of a nerf. It's getting nerfed in 7.17, but the nerf really isn't that bad. It's not really going to affect Janna at all, so you can expect Janna for the next few patches to probably be one of the best support picks. And as long as you've got a few games on the champion, like she's not a pick to where you need a bunch of games on to be successful. If you do have a few games, then you've basically mastered Janna and you're gonna have great success on her for 7.16. And then lastly here for Thresh, he's kind of similar to Rakan in the sense that he does have a pretty high skill ceiling. There's just so many different things that you can do with Thresh's kit, so there's a big difference between an average Thresh player and a mastered Thresh player for sure. If you put a lot of time into the champion and you do play a lot of games on him, then you are going to notice a difference and you are going to have very good success with the champion. So that is going to be it for this video, guys. These are the picks in this patch right now that are the most influential if you do have a lot of games on them. If you play them well and you know what you're doing on the picks, then you're going to have great success with them for 7.16. So that's going to be it, guys. If you did enjoy the video, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.